Hello, this is going to be the third installment and second icon of our Illustrator skills test icon tutorial series. So this time we're going to be working on the cog right here. The first step is to zoom in, and we're going to work pretty much right on top of where the icon is so that we can make sure that our proportions are correct. All right, so when we take a look at this in terms of its structure, there are a number of ways that we can go about doing this. We could create a white ring and a little white rounded rectangle or square right up here, and then rotate that, 7 more times around the center point of the circle that we had created. Or if you look at this, you can see that this extends through the center, and we could create one long rectangle with rounded corners and duplicate that 3 additional times and then punch the center out. So like I say, there are a number of ways we can do that. I think in this instance we'll go with the second method because that's a little easier, and I think what we'll do is we'll introduce the shape builder tool for that. So without any further ado, let's just go ahead and start working. So the first thing I'm going to work with is the ellipse tool, and I'm going to just go ahead and draw Option Shift Drag this sort of center ellipse. Doesn't have to be perfectly aligned. This is left over from working on our previous icon, so let's make sure that this is something that we can work with. I'm going to give it a null fill and a black stroke. Okay, so let's do that again. I'm going to deselect, and with the same tool, I'll come in here and hopefully be able to find the center. And let's see, I'll go to Command Y and go back out and scale this up just a little bit more to where I'm just about where I want to be. Okay, so if I'm unsure that those two are aligned, center to center, both horizontally and vertically, I can look with my Command Y tool, and that will illustrate the center points of both objects. You can see that right there. And if you can't see two center objects or center points, that means that you probably have them in exactly the same place. But if you're unsure, you can always select both of them and use your align tools to make extra sure. So our align tool should be up here somewhere. Let's see if I can find it. Is right here. So if we select 1 to be the key object, again, that highlights, and we'll align the horizontal centers and the vertical centers. That didn't work. Oh, I see why, because I had something else selected. I had the background selected. So let me zoom out to show you that. So I actually had this guy selected too. So let me unselect that, and now you can see that this is just my selection, but I'll go back and reestablish a key object and align center and center, and there we go. Sorry for the confusion there. All right, next we're going to draw one of the one bar in here to create 2 cogs, and I'll do that just with the rectangle tool. And again, I'm going to draw that from the center and get that roughly in position. Okay, if it's not looking perfect, I can once again select both items, select the key object, and align center and center. Okay, then I can round the corners to an appropriate amount, and with the object still selected, I can say edit, copy, and then edit, paste in place, And then if I come over here to the corner, I can select just a little bit off. And if you'll see that the cursor turns into that rounded arrow, that means that I'm in rotation mode, and I can rotate here. Okay, if I hold my shift key down, my rotation will be constrained to increments of 45 degrees. Okay, so that's the next step. And since that's already in our pasteboard, I can just paste in place again, hold the shift key down and rotate it 90 degrees this time. Edit, paste in place one more time, and do it again, holding the shift key down. So that will constrain me to all of those degrees. Okay, so now this looks like a big complicated mess, right? But it really isn't. It's really just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different objects. So what we need to do is make some sense out of that. And the way we're going to do that is by selecting all of these objects, and then making sure that we have our outer and inner circles selected too. So it looks like we have everything selected that we need selected. Then we're going to go over here to the middle of our toolbar and find the Shape Builder tool. And if you remember doing this in class, what we do is we just sort of paint over the sort of intersecting areas that we want to combine to create our new shape. So I'm just going to focus on the big easy ones first. And all of those little meshy looking shaded areas are being joined. Now there are these little tiny spikes in the middle that are a little more delicate to get to, so we just have to sort of be careful about that. And I'm clicking and holding. I haven't released my mouse yet. And as soon as I get to the last little spike, then I will release the mouse, and you can see that that puts that just where it needs to be. If I then hold the shift key down, I should have a bunch of my other items selected, and if I hit delete, nope, that didn't work. I'll undo that, and let me just come in and do that sort of the old-fashioned way. I'll deselect everything and come down here and select all of this stuff and hold shift to deselect my new shape and deselect the background. And now this is all of that gobbledygook left over, and I'm just going to hit delete, and there we go. So the next thing is to pull the stroke off of this shape and give it a fill. So I'm going to give it a white fill and remove the stroke by setting it to null. And then I'm going to create a new ellipse for the background shape. And I'm just going to rough this in position, and then we'll align in a second. So there we go. And again, I'm going to select these objects and move them off. Deselect the background. Move these over here so they're a little easier to work with. And then with the new ellipse or circle selected, I'm going to go to my eyedropper tool and select the green background. And once again, because it's the most recent thing I've drawn, it's going to be on top of everything else. So if I right click, I can go to Arrange and Send to Back. And there we have both objects. If they don't look perfectly aligned, we can go ahead and do that by selecting both of them, selecting the background as a key object, and then selecting vertical align center and horizontal align center. And now we know that those are perfectly aligned. So I'll select both of them, Command G to group them. I'll zoom out a little bit and drag that into position right here. And that is the second icon in this series. Next, we'll be doing the little cloudscape with the sun. It's a little more challenging, believe it or not. So stand by for that one. Thanks for watching.